On this week's Waypoint, Doom is coming, badass dragon champions aren't, Lee Sin won't be nerfed before Worlds, and major changes to the LCS format next year. What's up guys, and welcome to Waypoint, your weekly League of Legends recap for July 16th, 2014. I'm your host, Lindsay Geektron. It's that time again guys, the stars have aligned and Riot are giving us another awesome, albeit temporary, gameplay mode. The Doombots of Doom are coming to town between July 17th and July 27th, and as you can see, they mean business. After years of being exploited and farmed for IP, the bots have thrown balance out of the window in the interest of kicking our asses. You think Lux is cute but underpowered? Think again when she can shoot her laser beam in all directions. What if Ziggs or Morgana's AoE multiplied across the battlefield when they landed? What if Ezreal had Swain's ultimate to out-heal your damage before coming back to life with an Anivia passive? Welcome to the Doombots of Doom. It's pretty hilarious. Riot do want this to be fun though, so Doombots will scale up over time and as you kill them, instead of being completely overpowered from level 1. At a certain point though, you're gonna have to give the bots a combination of abilities and passives that are just too hard to beat. So if you want my advice, bring teleport, bring a split pusher, and abandon your team. Now that's no fun. I'm sure Wukong, who has clones that ult with him, aren't too hard to deal with, right? Ouch. This sounds like a ton of fun and we can't wait to jump in tomorrow. But in the meantime, how do you guys feel about Riot's continued stance of keeping featured game modes temporary? On the one hand, it keeps them special, but on the other hand, people do miss them once they're gone. The positive is that eventually we'll have so many featured game modes that we can have a constant rotation, which is a great way to keep the game fresh. Riot Meddler answered a bunch of questions in a Q&A on the forums and confirmed that the next champion to be released is a top laner. Great news, as we've not had one since Aatrox's release last June. Of course, when it comes to top lane, there's often a lot of overlap with the jungle, which led to a Reddit thread full of witty comments. Coaching Pikachu said, "Can't wait to see him relegated to the jungle after successive nerfs." Sounds about right, doesn't it? Oh, and Riot Gypsy is designing the next champion. Gypsy designed Vi, who was initially meant to be a top laner. And we all know how that turned out, don't we? Those of you hoping it's Ao Shin, aka this badass dragon champion that got teased a while ago, Meddler confirmed that he's still a ways out. He's still in the works, but Riot ran into various issues on how they were going to approach his design. At this point, his concept has been taken back to the very early stages, but it sounds like we may get him at some point. That's further backed up by Meddler stating that after a period of avoiding creatures and making mainly human or humanoid champions, Riot is now all aboard the monster train. Woohoo! The coolest tidbit that Meddler shared was a champion concept that Riot had played around with in the past. The basic idea would be a champion that could attach itself to allies, tanking damage or casting spells as the ally moved around the rift. It would likely be a creature or a shapeshifter or something like that. It sounds like the original idea was kind of like a swarm of insects. Although this idea obviously never saw the light of day, it's something that Meddler would love to try again. So basically a parasite? Creepy. Despite Lee Sin's dominance of the jungle, we shouldn't expect any major changes to the Blind Monk until after Worlds. Look at any random game of League and chances are champions with Smite are either Elise, Evelynn, or most commonly Lee Sin. He's been defining jungle picks for a long time now and has only grown in popularity throughout 2014. The community is frustrated, Riot is frustrated, and nothing seems to be happening to change that. Huge Lee Sin changes were put on the PBE a while ago, but they never made it to live servers after a massive outcry from, well, everyone. The really tricky thing about Lee Sin is that he's so fun to play and so unique, so people didn't want part of his kit chopped off or nerfed to the ground. Now that the World Championships are so close, Riot are unwilling to make changes that would distort the competitive scene. Remember last year with the Trinity Force change right before Worlds? They don't want that kind of sudden shakeup this year, so major changes are a no-go at this point. Why is Lee Sin such a problematic champion though? He's fun, he's interesting, he's cool, and he takes a lot of skill to play well. The difference between a bad Lee Sin player and a pro Lee Sin player like me is massive. The main problem with him is he's got very obvious strengths, but no real obvious weaknesses. There is a reason why Freak made an April Fool's champion spotlight where he said, quote, "Lee Sin is a ranged melee tanky DPS assassin mage tank support jungler. He excels at everything," end quote. You know, that was a few years ago, but it still hits pretty close to home now, doesn't it? Riot are considering increasing the number of LCS teams from 8 to 10 in 2015 in both NA and EU. No promises yet, but it's definitely on the radar, and Riot are considering it for a number of reasons. For starters, obviously, more teams mean more matchups, more players, more diversity. The question, though, is if there's enough talent in the challenger scene for both regions for that to be a good thing. Does more teams mean more competitive matches? Don't know, but I'll speak for NA because I know it better. How many times have we heard the pros complain about a lack of amateur talent to pick up from? Even if there is a lack of LCS-worthy teams and players waiting to break into the scene in each region, which is debatable either way, that doesn't make this a bad idea. This year we've seen lots of players swap between regions. TSM brought in Bjergsen, CLG brought in Dexter and Seraph, LMQ came all the way from China as a team and fought to get into the NA LCS. More spots in the LCS will open up more opportunities for organizations both at home and abroad, which can only be a good thing. Riot also believe that moving to a 10-team system would allow them to get rid of Super Weeks and move to a more consistent schedule. You can almost guarantee that getting rid of Super Weeks would be met with approval of every pro player because preparing for 4 teams in 1 week is insanely hard. And as much as fans might enjoy Super Weeks, you really do have to commit a lot of time to watch all of those matches. Along with removing Super Weeks, the split itself would be shortened to allow for longer, more exciting playoffs. Totally on board for that. The playoffs are the best part of each split, and at the moment, they're over in a flash. Even more importantly, 10 teams in the league means that anyone who gets into the playoffs wouldn't have to worry about relegation. It always felt weird that a team could qualify for playoffs and still be relegated if they do badly. All in all, I'd like to see LCS move in a different direction next year. It's the 21st century, and for a lot of us, that means staring at harsh, bright screens for a good part of our day. And when I finally crawl into bed at the very end of my day, the last thing I want to do is strain my eyes reading a book. That's why I use Audible.com. With over 100,000 audiobooks to choose from, great prices, and incredible discounts for members, there's nowhere better to get your audiobook fix. From sci-fi and fantasy to history and comedy to all sorts of nonfiction, there's something for everyone on Audible.com. Even if you've never been a big reader, audiobooks could open up a whole new world for you. Familiar franchises like Star Wars and Star Trek, or World of Warcraft and Warhammer are great places to start. Not too confident? Don't worry. If you choose an audiobook that isn't for you, simply return it and try again. If you're interested, head on over to audible.com/gamebreaker and start your free 30-day trial today. And as a thank you for signing up, you'll receive a free audiobook that's yours to keep. It's also just an amazing way to support us and help to continue to make shows like this, so thank you so much. Once again, that URL is audible.com/gamebreaker. And that does it for this week's episode of Waypoint. For more video game news and content, head on over to gamebreaker.tv. Be sure to check back every week for the latest League of Legends news. If you enjoyed this video, please like and comment below to help us reach more people. And if you want more League of Legends content, recaps, and updates, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, LolNationTV. I'm Lindsay Geektron. You can follow me on Twitter at LindsayGeektron. Thanks everyone so much for watching, and I'll see you guys at the next Waypoint.
Game Breaker TV.